everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Saturday, and you know what that means? It's time for the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. Man, we've got a fun one today. I'm really excited. And only like 70% of it is evil, maniacal genius excited. Totally. Yeah, totally. It's gonna be fine. Folks, it's gonna be fine. Fam, calm. It's gonna be fine. Oh, hi everybody. Hi, what a beautiful day. This has always been one of my favorite classes, but I think particularly in the wintertime when it is a class where it's still like daytime outside, it is even more one of my favorite classes. And I do absolutely, obviously love all the other classes of the week, but there is something really wonderful about getting that nice natural lighting, not having to throw the light kit up. So, yay. Beautiful day. Beautiful cloudless, leafless day outside. And how are you doing? You've made it through another week, which is remarkable. And my God. Okay, today's the 28th. Tomorrow's the 29th. Monday's the 30th. Is the next time you see me on December 1st? Is that a thing that's happening in our lives? That's a thing that's happening in our lives, isn't it? Yeah. This is our last class of November, which is crazy. Frequently we get to this part of the year and people start going, oh man, the year has gone so quickly. No, the year is not gone quickly at all. And I think that the thing that is amazing me is not that the year has gone quickly, but that we've finally reached the end of it, or at least almost the end of it. Still an entire other month to go. And plenty of frustrations, plenty of, I'm sure, people thinking that no pandemic would dare infect them over their chosen holidays. So we have that to look forward to, but holy crap, friends. We're nearly at the end of 2020, and as I talked about last night, that doesn't mean that a magical switch is going to be flipped when we hit 2021 and everything will just suddenly be fine. It won't. There's going to be plenty of stuff that we carry forward with us. But I was having a conversation the other night with two of my best friends, and we were talking about things that we're grateful for and things that we've really struggled with over the course of this year. And one of the things for one of them was resilience. And honestly, I think that's something that we should all be proud of. There have been so many curveballs lobbed at us over the course of this year, and we've had to continually adapt and change how we approach everything from social interaction to activism and the political process. We've had to come to terms with a lot of, or at least start coming to terms with a lot of dark and ugly things about not the past of our country, but the present of our country. And it's just been a lot. And if you're here and you're watching this stream, then you've made it through a lot this year. And this year has taken a degree of resilience from all of us that is greater than any in my remembered lifetime. And we should all be pretty proud of that. And we should remember that as we move forward. Next year is not going to be about, oh, everything is magically perfect. It's going to keep taking that resilience and that resolve that we've all really dug into this year. But it's not going to come with the period of time where it felt like we weren't going to have that resilience and that resolve. Because we know that we do now. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we've got that. And, I think that's really the lesson to come out of this year. It's not that, oh, we leave this magical number behind and suddenly everything's great forever. It's that if you made it through 2020, then you have developed a strength and resilience that is going to serve you for the rest of your life and that you should be very proud of. And you need to remember that going forward, when we get into times when we're struggling and when, bad stuff happens in our lives and people leave us, or jobs fall apart, or families fall apart, or, more political chicanery happens. We just need to remind ourselves that we made it through this year. And that's a hell of a thing. That is not something to be taken lightly. I think we should all, I know we're not even to December yet, but I feel like we need to start this process now. I feel like we need to start the process of really settling in, thinking about what's happened over the course of the year, both in our personal lives and in the broader, societal civilization scheme of things, and figuring out what lessons we can draw and what strengths and tools we've developed. And I think we could all stand to start thinking about that now, just so that we can feel a little better about the last month of this year, which is also going to look very different from what anybody expected. There are people with birthdays in December who, considering that I, with a birthday in June, did not initially think that my birthday was going to be impacted by pandemic. The people with birthdays in December had a lot longer of a time to think, oh, well, maybe this will be cleared up by then, and are now having to come to terms with the thing that many of us have already had to come to terms with, which is that their birthdays are going to look very different. Again, a new, fresh round of major holidays coming up this month that are going to, or should look very different than they normally do. Those of us who have parents who live far, far away, who we're not able to bubble with, we're coming to terms with the fact that we may not see your parents again for a year or two, depending on how long it's already been. And so let's start taking the time now and thinking about how resilient we are and how much we've made it through, and remembering that we have that power and that strength. And then let's turn it into exercise, because it's time to get going. Yeah. Oh man, what a segue. That was a beautiful segue. I'm proud of that. Proud of that work. Good work. Good work, Blanche. All right, my friends. It's weekend kickoff. It's body weight, strength and stamina. So, your heart rate's going to be getting up, but it's not officially my cardio class. There will be toe squats. There will be long tabatas. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. All right, my loves, let's do our pre-class checklist. Make sure you've got your water in a vessel of your choosing. Make sure you are drinking it during class. Make sure you've got your comfy clothes on, your mat or your mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to get that going on the high-intensity interval training setting. Maybe hit it a couple of times if your watch apparently is still asleep. And I don't need any of those apps. You know what I do need? Ultra Timer. There we go. All right, it's warm-up time. So scoot awkwardly over to your mat. Well, y'all are probably already on your mat. I'm the only one who has to scoot awkwardly to my mat. Alrighty, Let's go. As soon as you hear that horn go, we will start with our hip rocks and bridges. So we are on our backs, one foot crossed over the opposite knee, and we start by contracting our ab muscles to lift our hips just a little bit off the floor, then put that foot back down on the floor, come up onto the ball of the foot and bridge the hips up like this. And we just go back and forth between those two settings, basically. So you also may feel a stretch in the hip of the leg where you have the foot crossed over the opposite knee, because as I lift those hips up to rock them up in the air, I'm pulling this leg towards me, which basically pulls this entire apparatus towards me. If you've ever done a pigeon stretch in a yoga class, then this style of hip stretch is pretty familiar to you. So depending on your already extant flexibility in your hip, all right, switch to the other side, you may feel a bit of a stretch there. So for me, my right hip is my less flexible hip, and so when I do this warm-up on this side, whenever I do the rock, I feel that stretch in my hip because it is less flexible, so it's getting more out of that active stretch. So if you're feeling a little bit of a stretch in the hip, it is a perfectly normal thing to be feeling. And remember, again, this is the warm-up. This is our boot-up sequence. We are not trying to put 100% energy into this. We are slowly starting up all of the systems that we are going to need over the course of class, okay? So don't be going for turning it up to 11. All right, starting our leg sequence. So we've got 3 exercises on one side before we switch to the other. We start here with everybody's favorite Jane Fonda. So we are balanced up on our hip, lying on our side, your body in a nice straight line, okay? And I mean that. It can be difficult to sense whether you are in that line if you are not used to cultivating your own spatial awareness about where your body is in space. So if you struggle with that, if you're not sure, use the long edge of your mat. Look at this nice, long, straight line that you can just set yourself up along and go, okay, well, I can feel pretty confident that I'm in a straight line. Now let me try to memorize how that feels so that going forward, I can get into that position without the aid. All right, now we've taken that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of the bottom knee. We are lifting the bottom leg, okay? So this position, because we have the foot in front of the bottom knee, we have to do a little work to keep our knee in a safe position. So generally, for knee safety, we want our knee going straight over our toes rather than caving in like this. You hear me talk about that all the time when we're doing squats. Here on the floor, when we're not putting any pressure, standing pressure on our knee here, it's less dire, you know, so this is a great place to practice engaging the muscles in your hip to pull that knee so it is pointing straight up at the ceiling. And again, your innate hip flexibility will impact how difficult that is. All right, now we're taking that foot behind the bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg. I have taken to calling this our beach pose because this is our easiest position in this sequence. You know, we've got, with the foot behind the knee, this apparatus is pretty much just set it and forget it. You're not having to do any special engagement to keep the knee pointing straight up at the ceiling. So we've got a lot of stability coming from here, and we're not worried about rocking the hips back and forth. So we can really just focus in on that leg lift, lifting the leg towards the midline. Whenever I say midline, that basically just mean if I drew a line down the center of my body, okay? And that's what this lift is going for, as opposed to the top leg lift that we're about to go back to, where it's lifting away from the midline. All right, so now we are on our other side. We're doing the exact same 3 exercises again. So all the same form notes apply. One of the things for this side position, having that core engagement, engaging those ab muscles, is really helpful because, again, we're balancing up here on our hip. We have the potential to, the hip it's a ball and socket joint. It's not, a flat surface to balance on. So engaging the core helps to just stabilize you in this position so you can focus on lifting the leg. And how did you do getting into that street line position today? Not today, on the second side, Maybe you still needed to use the long edge of your mat, or maybe you had a better sense of it for this side. These are the things that we learn over time. All right, so now we've got that front foot, or that top foot in front of the bottom knee, lifting the bottom leg. So start to check in on how differently it may feel to keep this knee pulled up into this position on this other side. Maybe this is the side where your hip is more flexible, so this is easier. Or maybe, like for me, this is the side where your hip is less flexible, so you have to more actively engage muscles in your hip to pull that knee back rather than letting it cave forward. And again, it's not that dangerous down here because we're not putting any standing pressure on the leg, but that also makes this the perfect place to practice that. So when we get into situations where it is more dangerous for us to let those knees just cave in, we've already figured out how to activate and engage the appropriate muscles. All right, now we're in our beach pose. We're chilling. This is the last of our leg sequence before we move into our sequence opening our hips and our back. 2 areas of the body that frequently get very stiff and frustrated with us when we sit at desks for 8 hours or stand behind a counter for 8 hours. So we like this next section to give them a little bit of release, get them a little stretched out, nice active stretches and twists, and just, opening them up after a week of, for those joints, relatively sedentary lifestyle. So we're finishing out our leg lifts here, and now we start with our scorpion twists. So planting those forearms on the floor, twisting first one leg, crosses back behind you, then the other. You're trying to get that foot flat on the floor and trying to get that knee pointing up towards the ceiling, but your elbows need to stay attached to the ground the whole time, all right? So if you get here and you're like, oh, cool, I can get all the way here. All I had to do was lift my elbow a little bit. You can't get all the way there yet, okay? So this provides you a nice gauge for where your flexibility, your back flexibility is right now. And it'll make it easier for you to tell when it improves, because you'll be able to twist farther before you feel like your elbows might have to come off the ground. But this is a non-negotiable, all right? We do not lift those elbows until it's time to stand. And we're holding our imaginary PVC pipe over our heads. Oh man, we're doing our nice big torso rotations. And let me tell you, I'm getting a nice hamstring stretch as I go through the bottom of this large circle. I'm switching directions every 2 rotations just to make sure I'm keeping myself evened out. And remember, we're holding this imaginary bar up here. It's not moving around, okay? We're not moving our arms and trying to follow behind. All of the movement is being initiated from the hips. The arms are staying in the same position relative to my head the whole time. I've had clients who, sort of do this complicated, like swinging your arms around and trying to follow the pole. The pole is not the leader, okay? All right, so now we've got our feet about shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider. We're still holding that pole above our heads, and we're doing squats. So now we start to take all of that information that we were gathering in the leg sequence and putting it into practice. So can you squat down and stand up without your knees trying to cave in at any point along that process? If you can't, narrow your stance and try again. Go, okay, cool, I can maintain this here in this narrower stance, so I'm gonna stick here for as many classes as I need to until I've built up that strength, and then I can try widening that stance again and see, oh, awesome, I have built out the necessary strength to be able to hold that safe knee position there. All right, now into our Samson stretches. So this stretch is focused on the front of our hip flexor. So we're taking this leg straight behind us into this lunge position, and we're gonna feel the stretch right here in the hip flexor, basically where the thigh is connecting in to the hips. So for that, you need to make sure that your hips are pointing forward, no matter where you are in this position. Don't start turning your hips to the side. This becomes a warrior two position. It's not what we're doing. So imagine that you have headlights attached to your pelvic bones, and they should be shining straight forward no matter where you are in the position. And then we're just lifting our arms straight up into the air. All right. Now coming down into our wide squat position. We've got our hands on our knees, which gives us an assist in keeping them safely over our feet. And we're just twisting one shoulder at a time in towards the midline. There's that term again. So we are not moving any other part of our body. We're not bouncing up and down out of the squat. The only things that are moving are our shoulders, okay? So if you feel like you're still struggling to keep your knees in that safe position, one thing you can do is just turn in your feet a little bit. So this is a very turned out squat that I'm in, but I have 30 years of dance training. So maybe you turn your feet in a little bit, makes it easier to hold the knees in those safe position, even when you're twisting. All right, here we are. We've reached cardio, and we are starting with our jumping jacks, okay? And again, we're still not rushing to jump to 100% energy output yet, all right? We're still in the warm-up. We're finalizing our boot up sequence. So right now we're kicking off our cardiovascular system more deliberately. So getting that heart rate up a little bit, getting our breathing going a little faster, moving oxygen more quickly throughout the body. But I'm not doing, full jumping jacks here. I'm keeping my elbows bent the whole time as I move my arms. That's also partially because I have shoulder stuff and I really feel this motion. So I want to minimize the amount of space that I need to travel. All right, now time for our kick throughs. And again, if this is a new exercise to you, move slowly with it, all right? You don't have to get it up to speed yet. Just make sure you have all of the form components down. So with our standing arm, shoulder directly over wrist. If you have wrist issues, you can try it from up on your fist like this, and then switch to the other side. And that helps you keep your wrist a little bit straighter. You can also use push-up handles if you need those. Making sure that your standing leg, 90-degree angle, knee pointing up towards the ceiling.
not letting the knee, again, cave forward and not bringing your butt all the way down to the floor like that, okay? All right, last but certainly not least, we have burpees. So we're doing a wave push-up, always a wave push-up. If you're over there going, but I could do a plank push-up, I really want to, don't worry, you'll get to do push-ups later in class. But right now, we're doing a wave push-up, making sure to keep your elbows right by your sides, okay? This helps us to focus the work of the push-up on our triceps. And then nice big victory clap up at the top. And we're just going, we're coming ever closer to the end of the timer. Oh joy, it's almost time to rest, drink some water, and find out what the rest of class is gonna look like. Good job, everybody. Nice warm-up. It's always amazing how energizing working out can be, because it's also exhausting. You know, we're running through a lot of energy. A lot of our energy fuel source stores are going into these classes. But, and yet it always seems to energize me at the same time that it's tiring me out. And hopefully you're having that experience too. If you're still new to class, you may not be there yet. You may be like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. And don't worry, that is also totally normal. It took me years to get to that point with this class. Definitely for a long time, I'd be wiped out for at least 30 minutes after class was done, if not a full hour. And it was a slow transition, you know, to where I got to the point where I could finish class and be like, all right, I feel pretty normal. Let's go about our day. But that, again, took years to get to that point. Make sure you're drinking your water. Make sure you're psyching yourself up, because next, oh man, I love this section. All right, my friends, I'm sure you knew this was happening. Pick a number between 150 and 300, and that is the number of toe squats that you need to do. So taking our feet in this nice hip width position. Now I'm going to show you from the side. So we're trying to keep our torso as up and down as possible, and that is relevant because when I do that, I can't really squat that far down. I get to about here and my Achilles are like, I don't know what you want me to do here. So that's why we let our heels come off the ground and we come all the way down here. So I'm balancing on the balls of my feet. My back is still as straight up and down as I can keep it. And then we stand, the heels come back down naturally, and we just do that over and over again. I've got my core engaged because that's a very small surface area to balance on, the ball of the foot. And if I'm not controlling the weight of my torso so that it's not able to move around, then I get down here and I'm like, oh man, I'm off balance. I don't know where the weight of my torso is going, and so my feet can't compensate, and I fall out of the position or I hurt myself. So as weird as it sounds, the first thing I do, engage that core. Down, up, down, up. And then when I have that engaged, I can, over time, speed up my reps like that. All right? Okay, my friends, there's not going to be any timer sounds for this. I'm just going to get my stopwatch going. We're going to go for about 12 minutes before I start our rest interval. And you can take rests as you go. Just make sure that you are doing the same number of reps before each rest. All right? So everybody on your mat, get ready, get set, and go. All right, so yeah, the number of reps is important, and it's one of the ways that we ramp up, that we challenge ourselves, that we add intensity, is decreasing rest time and increasing number of reps. So for something like this, this is the second week in a row that we've had a nice big toe squat section in our Sunday class. So you can do a comparison between what you did last week and what you're doing today. So maybe last week you did 20 reps before you needed a break. So today, maybe try for 25 or 30, you know? Maybe at some point, and again, this will probably take a while, but maybe at some point you get to the point where you can just keep going for the entire 12 minutes without needing a break. Again, that's something that will probably take a while. Definitely took me several years to get to that point where I could do just straight up toe squats for an entire 10 minutes. But, you know, it's something, if you're looking for something to work towards, it is really thrilling when you get to that point and you're like, I can just keep going forever. I don't really need to worry. I can do this for 10 minutes, which would have seemed like an absolute age when I first started this out. All right, so find ways to set mini challenges for yourself if you are feeling if you're feeling a little plateaued or fatigued with your exercise routine. And maybe you're not. Maybe this is your second class and you're still just focused on the bare minimum, starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercises correctly. And that's great. That is your goal right now. Getting to a place where that bare minimum doesn't feel as intense for you anymore, okay? That is absolutely the goal you're working towards, and you're doing a great job. But we all hit those plateau points, you know? We've all hit those points where it's like, well, I feel like I've been working my ass off, and yet I don't feel like I'm making any progress. Maybe I don't have a good sense of what progress should feel like, but I know that I'm not feeling it. So see what kinds of small goals you can create for yourself. And obviously, we will also have, you know, more month-long programming like we did for October. God, that ended a month ago, which is just nuts to me. But yeah, you know, we'll have more months like that where I sort of build deliberate challenges in, and we build towards an ultimate goal, and that'll be super cool. But you need to be able to do that for yourself too, because unless you're working with me as a personal trainer, there's only so much that I can do goals wise as a teacher, because, you know, as a teacher, my goal is to keep class doable for people at a wide range of abilities. And, you know, that means that I'm not able to set really specific goals for people. So figure out what your goal is. Is it just doing, getting through the bare minimum? Is it adding an extra 5 or 10 or 15 reps on to each of your sets of toe squats right now? You know, figure those things out. Find out what makes you excited, all right? Find a goal that you feel really thrilled to try to dig into, and that is going to make you feel more excited about this work. So we're almost 5 minutes in. Awesome. And I'm sure that plenty of you are taking small rests. So when you're resting, Obviously, you can grab water and should be, but also take the time to get some stretches in, especially if toe squats are still new to you. Stretches will be really nice. So we can do a standing quad stretch where you're standing on one leg, you grab a foot in the same hand and pull that heel in towards your butt until you get that nice stretch in your quad. You can do it as a balance, just like this, but if that is a struggle for you, just put your hand on something, hang on to it, so that you can focus the energy on the stretch itself and not have to split it between the stretch and maintaining a safe balance, you know? So if your balance is there, awesome. If it's not, find a wall. Stretching your calves out, another good one. So imagine that I am next to a wall, because I can't reach my wall from here. I'm gonna take one leg straight behind me. My goal is to drive that heel down to the floor, which is where the wall comes in handy. Because maybe I can get here in this position, but I can't quite push it down under its own seam. So I apply force against the wall, and I can get that heel safely and slowly down to the floor, get that nice calf stretch in. Switch sides. Again, we are not symmetrical creatures, so you may be able to go farther back with one leg than you can go with the other. Totally normal. And then for your feet, if you're new to toe squats, you will probably feel cramping in your arches. That's really common, and it took a long time before that went away for me. So one of the stretches I like to do, because you're coming up on the ball of your foot over and over again, so just trying to stretch the ball of the foot in the other direction. So basically, I'm pointing my toes directly down to the ground and then flipping over them and just pushing ever so slightly. I'm not putting weight on it, but I'm feeling a stretch up the top of my foot that goes into my shin. And just going back and forth and back and forth, and that can help stretch out your feet a little bit. Give them a new direction to work in before you go back. Now, we are far enough along that it's time to start talking about how you are doing and maintaining your form, okay? One of the big things that is a danger for this exercise is letting gravity take control. So we're getting really tired and we're like, well, you know, gravity's already trying to get me down to the floor pretty quickly. Let's just sort of let it do that without getting my own muscle engagement in the way. That is going to be really unhealthy for your knees. If you're getting down here and you're sort of bouncing around a bit, it's really bad for your knees. So I want you to be in complete control of every part of this movement. Gravity does not get to take over. Your muscles have to be doing the work the whole time. So you can see here, I can do pretty quick reps, but I am not bouncing, I'm not collapsing down to the ground. My core is engaged, my quads are working, and I am taking control of every part of that exercise. And that's how we keep ourselves safe in it. So one of the things that we'll start to notice as we get fatigued is that it becomes more and more pleasant to let gravity give us a boost. And in this instance, gravity is not our friend, and we do not want to give it control over the exercise. All right? Checking in on, speaking of core engagement, is your core still engaged? Or are you starting to get down to the ground and feel a little wobbly, a little all over the place? All right? That may be a sign that you are no longer controlling the weight of your torso. So bring those ab muscles back into the party and just make sure. So the reason that we do that is so that we can basically make one solid entity of weight to be managed by the balance. So, like I said, this is not a lot of surface area to be balancing on. And if all of my limbs and my knees and my torso are all allowed to just go in whatever direction they want to, that's when we start wobbling, that's when we fall out of the position. Whereas I engage my core, and that brings my entire torso under control. My quads are engaged, obviously, as a part of doing the exercise. And so by the time I get down here, I have just one cohesive slab, for lack of a better term, and my feet can handle the micro adjustments that they need to do to keep that balance without worrying that something's going to go in a direction they're not expecting it to go, okay? So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to check in on your core engagement. All right, my friends, we have less than 1 minute left, so check in on where you are with the number that you have chosen. If you need to go a little bit into our 2-minute rest period, that is fine. Just know that you will get less rest. And if you've already finished, awesome, you are getting a whole ton of rest. Take advantage of it, all right? Get some stretching going. We've got 15 seconds left, so just keep going. Don't lose that form. Don't lose count. You've made it roll far. Too far to lose count now. All right, that was 12 minutes, my friends. So if you still need to finish up a little bit, do so. Don't worry. Otherwise, let's grab some water. Whew. Oh man. Yeah, your quads are gonna be so tough after after even just a month of having toe squats. There's a woman who I took class with and then taught. Obviously I haven't taught in person in a while, but she is a machine with toe squats. She would just start moving and she would just blast out 300 without even thinking about it. And it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So I never got there. I haven't tried for a full 300 rep run in a while. So who knows? Maybe I am there now. But it was always really impressive to watch her. And she would get a nice rhythm going and she could just go, go, go. And it was super cool. Most of the rest of us need rest periods, and that is totally fine. But if you do want to work towards, can I ever do 300 reps in a row without stopping? It is possible. It absolutely is. All right, my friends, we are going to do some tabatas. 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest, 2 exercises, 8 times through. So we're just going to be alternating our exercises. So we're going to start with side-to-side planks. So taking a nice plank position, shoulders directly over wrists, butts out of the air. Let your heels fall to one side, come up on to that arm. Other arm lifts towards the ceiling. You look towards it, hold for a second, let the judges see it, and then come back through the center and to the other side. And we're just going back and forth. If you have wrist issues, again, you can do that from the fists. You can use push-up handles, or you can use, if you have dumbbells, you can use a dumbbell like a push-up handle. It's not perfect. You're still going to get a little bit of a flex in the wrist, but it will hold it a little bit more solidly straight than than this, obviously. And then our second exercise is squats with a knee raise. Yes, I'm making you do squats right after I made you do squats. Come on, such strong quads. We are working towards them. So I'm taking a wider stance, closer to shoulder width, squat down, and as I stand, I come up onto one foot, lift the other knee, squat, lift, squat, lift. Just going side to side. All right. Woo! Oh man, I got a text. I'll have to answer it later. Okay, so everybody on your mats. The nice thing about our Tabata timer is that the first sound does not mean go. It means stop, rest, and relax. Then after, so this is a 15-second rest, so it takes a little bit longer. It always trips me up. All right, there it was. Knock, knock, knock. So get ready, into position, and we're going. So for our side-to-side planks, this is a great shoulder strengthening exercise. I know I talk about how it's been one of my PT exercises, but we do not have to be going for speed on this, okay? We want strength and stability. Our shoulders are our most unstable joint, and that is by design because they have a lot of range of motion built in to that ball and socket joint, and that's deliberate, but it means that we need to deliberately cultivate strength and stability for those times when we don't want our shoulder to be, just able to move all over the place. All right, second exercise. Here we are for our squats with the knee raise. All of the normal squat form notes apply. And I'm keeping my core engaged. That helps me to lift my knee up strongly, helps me to maintain stability in the balance. So make sure that you're not just squatting down and forgetting about the stabilizing wonder that are your abdominal muscles. All right. So we're through two sets. Awesome. Now we're going back to those side-to-side planks. And so really focusing on form for this, okay? Make sure your shoulder is directly over your wrist. You can make a perpendicular angle between your arm and the ground, okay? And as we move from side to side, I don't want you to let your shoulder push around, become unactivated and sort of sink. I want you to be controlling that joint the whole time, okay? I want you to feel that control the whole time. That's another reason why we don't want to add a lot of speed onto that exercise, because I want you to first learn how to be in control of the shoulders, how to stabilize them, all right? And now we're doing our squats with the knee raise. So Steve, who is in class on occasion, came up with this great phrase, or I think one of his coaches in high school used to tell him this, which is exhaling on effort, which I think is a great way to think of it. So breath helps us to drive our movement. There's the obvious biological way in that we're getting oxygen in that our body needs, and we're exhaling out all of the junk that it no longer does. Breathing can also help inspire us, push us to go for extra energy. I talk about finding your battle cry a lot. And so when I say exhale on the effort for squats with the knee raise, as I stand and lift that knee, try doing it when we come back around to it. Try doing it with a nice big exhale and see how that feels. See if it feels like it helps, it makes the exercise feel easier, or if it just feels like it is giving you a little bit more psychological energy. And just try to start thinking as soon as possible in your fitness journey about breath and how it drives everything that we're doing here. We're not doing a held position right now, so we don't need to worry as much about getting to that place where we just try to hold our breath, thinking that it's going to make the exercise easier. But breath is just such an important component of everything that we're doing. And we don't always talk about it deliberately outside of more artistic spaces. In dance, breath is a huge component of the work that you're doing, and it is recognized as such. In yoga, which is a little bit more of a, more focused on stretching and stability, breath is a huge component. But I feel like frequently in other areas of the fitness realm, we don't necessarily talk about it as much as we should. So start thinking about your breathing. Start thinking about how it impacts you, how it drives this movement, how it is helping your muscles to break down their fuel sources to give you the energy to do this class. All right, my friends, this is our last cycle through these exercises. So last time for your side-to-side planks. Again, if you have wrist problems, remember the modifications that you can do. So if you need perfectly straight wrists, go from the fists like this. It makes it a little bit more intense, so you'll probably have to slow it down even more, but it will definitely keep your wrists nice and straight the whole time. Or use dumbbells or push-up handles. There will still be a little bit of flexion, but it won't be nearly as much as when we're, just putting our whole hand on the floor. All right, and now we're standing, getting into position for our last run through squats with the knee raise. Really try to make sure that you're exhaling every time you stand and lift that knee, which means that you're inhaling as you go back down into the squat, all right? Check in on that knee form, making sure, we're coming up to a balance and then having to both put our feet back down and squat basically at the same time. So you need to really check in and make sure that even though you have more components to the movement, that whenever you squat, you're not letting your knees cave in like that, all right? Oh, yeah, good job, friends. Woo, nice, nice, nice. Okay. Water is wonderful. Yes, that's the water song. Someday I'll write an ode to water and we'll just play that before class so that we can always remember how wonderful water is. All right. So we're just going to do 2 more tapatas exactly like that. 8 times through 2 exercises, just going back and forth between them. So our second round, we're going to do, oh man, I think I'm going to change that actually. because I'm a rebel and it's my class, so, and you don't know what's written on the paper, so you're not even gonna know what I changed. Ooh. All right, so we haven't done just a straight up turtle stand in a while. Yes, this is a pretty intense leg day, my friends. All right, so anytime I tell you turtle something, you know that the first part of the exercise, rolling up onto your shoulders and then using that momentum to get up onto your feet. Depending on your Achilles flexibility and your level of momentum, you may need to use a hand to help push you up, or you may need to let one knee come down and push up to the position from there. That's okay. Just know that what I would love you to work towards is roll and then roll, because that momentum is just going to be so much more helpful. Any of the modifications are really stopping the momentum, and then you have to put more energy into getting going again, okay? So, turtle stand, we literally just come up, stand, come back down, and repeat. Easy as pie. And then, we're gonna do a slow leg lower. So anybody out there who is looking to strengthen your core, this is the exercise for you. So legs straight up in the air, and I am I'm contracting my core muscles to add a little tilt to my pelvis so that my lower back is flattened against the floor. And take your fingertips and you can try and shove them under your lower back, and they should not be able to get there. And then we're just going to start slowly lowering the legs. Stop every 15 degrees. Hold for 2 seconds. Then lower. Hold. 2. Lower. Hold. 2. Lower. Hold. 2. If you've made it all the way to there without your lower back coming up off the floor, then you can start going the other way. However, your lower back needs to be flat against the floor the whole time. So if you ever get to a point where you're like, nope, my back's coming up, reset and start again, okay? All right, my friends, let's get going. So, back on our mats. Again, enjoying the fact that the first sound does not mean go. That's our rest sound. And we're gonna then hear knock, knock, knock. It comes weirdly through my speaker for this timer only, which is annoying. Usually it's 3 knocks, which is a nicer indicator that we're almost about to start and we need to get in position. All right, so if you're wondering, well, she can't possibly want me to have my core engaged for this exercise. Oh, yes, I do. So for this roll, I'm rounding my back, right? Well, the best way to maintain that is to contract my abdominal muscles so that it rounds my back, and then hold them on the entire rock so that I maintain almost a bowl shape, and that helps me to get that momentum to then get all the way up onto my feet, okay? So, core, the unsung hero of basically everything that we do. All right, feet up, flat back, lower back flat against the ground, and I keep my fingertips here, and I'll just check in every once in a while and make sure that that back is still flat against the ground. Another thing you can do if this position is uncomfortable for you, for your arms or your shoulders, is if you have a yoga strap, something that is thick enough to be pinned to the ground by your back, but thin enough that it's not lifting your back, then you can lay down on that and just tug on it every once in a while and make sure that you're not able to pull it out from under yourself. And that is another great way to just check in and make sure that your back is still flat against the floor, right? All right, second time through. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, we're having fun, my friends. We are having so much fun. How are y'all feeling? We're moving through class. It's a heck of a way to start our week off, but you know, or start not our week, our weekend. Hopefully it's your weekend. Again, I like to make sure that I always acknowledge that there are plenty of people for whom Saturday and Sunday are not actually their weekend. Anybody working in retail, anybody working in food service, is anybody working in jobs that are not office jobs is generally going to be less likely to have Saturday and Sunday be an actual weekend for them. You know, so maybe this is just the class that is kicking off your workday, and you know, that's another great way to use this class. It can give you some good energy to take with you to whatever you're doing. Now, to be clear, finding the time of day that you can consistently get yourself to work out during is a really important part of your fitness journey. You know, people are out there being like, oh yeah, all you have to do is wake up at 4 in the morning to get stuff done. And you know what? If you are a person who is energized and inspired by waking up at 4 in the morning to get a run or a workout in before you go to work, that's awesome. But if you are not that person, don't beat yourself up trying to hold yourself to this single standard. It is not the be all and end all of exercise standards. People who are waking up at 4 in the morning to go for a run are not better people or better exercisers. They have just found something that works for them and that they're able to maintain. But that is not what works for many of us, and that's fine. So just like the best exercise is the thing that you enjoy and can stick with, right? So I have clients who, you know, get down on themselves because they're like, I feel like I should, you know, I really should try running, but I just hate running so much. Well, if you hate running, then why do you think that you need to try it? If you're not going to enjoy it, it's going to make it that much harder for you to actually stick to it, and that is not going to help your fitness journey. That is not going to help you maintain a schedule, maintain consistency of movement and exercise. So don't try and force yourself to do this activity that you don't enjoy. Just find something you do enjoy, or find a better reason that inspires you to do the thing, okay? Because not everybody's working out because they love the experience of working out. You know, that is not what drives everybody. Some people are driven more by, I enjoy the overall results of exercise in my life. I enjoy feeling stronger, feeling like I have more stamina, feeling like I have more mobility. I don't enjoy the process that much, but I like the result. And that is a totally legitimate way to approach this, okay? You know, this is a weird and intense class. It's okay if the actual act of class is not your favorite thing in the world, but if you like how it makes you feel, if you like how it's improving your strength, if you like how you feel like you can, that you are better at other activities that you enjoy, then that's an awesome reason to keep doing it, okay? So I think really we're not good at teaching people to actually find things they enjoy, you know? Too frequently the fitness industry works on a shame model. And it's just like, well, if you're not working out, you should be ashamed of yourself. That kind of crap. And it's like, well, no, maybe we just haven't taught people that it's okay to experiment and to find something that works for them. And, you know, right now too, is really hard for a lot of people because for many people, they've only ever found one type of activity or exercise that they enjoyed and really could stick with. And it requires, you know, a gym or being around a lot of people. You know, for those of us whose preferred exercise is dance classes or aerial, you know, stuff like that. It can be really demoralizing when you're like, well, I literally cannot do these things. And, you know, one of the things that I try to focus on is teaching us to approach movement and exercise with creativity and imagination so that we don't get tripped up when we don't have our perceived perfect setup. But I also recognize that takes work. And that can be really hard, especially if we've built up mental barriers going, no, I really hate this other type of exercise. I really hate this other type of activity. Or it uses motivational techniques that just do not work with how I am best motivated, you know? So there's so many components to fitness, my friends, and a lot of them are psychological. And, you know, we focus on the physical and forget that the brain is connected to every part of this, okay? So some food for thought, my friends. That was another thing I was gonna do this year. I was gonna get back into aerial. My friend Eileen and I, we were like, okay, we're gonna do it. She had done it for a while and then stopped, and I took like a beginner course a while ago and didn't continue. And we were like, okay, we're gonna do this and it's gonna be really cool. And then of course it didn't happen. All right, one more Tabata. I'm running a little late. I apologize. So one more Tabata are 2 exercises. We're gonna do front plank from the elbows. Make sure your shoulders are directly over your elbows. Again, want perpendicular line between the forearm and the ground. And we just hold that. The other exercise is going to be our lunge to the hand or elbow. So taking a nice long lunge and then doing one of 3 things. Either just coming down on this hand and just sinking into the lunge there, or trying not to lose your balance, coming down to the hand and then transitioning down to the elbow so you can really deepen that stretch, or you can just bypass the hand completely. Go straight down to the elbow, then stand up to that front foot, go back on the other side, and go back and forth. All right. Nice to get this little stretching in, especially considering how much leg work we've done today. Woo, boy howdy. I love it though. Strong legs help with so many activities. And I mean, we use our legs a lot more than we even think about a lot of the time, you know, because even when we are not thinking that we're having an active day, just getting up and walking to the kitchen or the bathroom is using our legs. So they are strong buddies. They are doing a lot of work that we don't even think about most of the time. All right, so here's one of those held positions we were talking about earlier. Are you breathing? Because you need to be breathing, okay? It's really tempting when we're in these held positions to hold our breath because we're like, well, I don't want to throw the position out of whack, so I need to hold my breath so my rib cage is not moving around. And I understand the impulse, but your muscles are still working hard in that position. Even though we're not moving around, they are still engaged and working, which means that they still need that oxygen to be able to break down fuel sources and get the energy that they need. So there are like certain, strongman lifting type things where holding your breath is a component of the exercise. But nothing I do in my classes is going to be something where holding our breath is a benefit. All right, so let's say it that way, because there are times and places where that is a legitimate technique, but none of the stuff that we're doing here is requiring that. Okay? All right. Hey, friends, this is our last Tabata. Now we're gonna do some stretching, which is gonna feel so nice. Oh my goodness. I am excited. I'm excited for stretching, but yeah, let's get ourselves through this. And let's remember too, as our last Tabata, as the end of class, this is the place where we no longer need to be carefully managing our energy use. One of the reasons why I remind people in the warm-up to not immediately go for 100% energy is that you still have 45 minutes left of class. So if you move through all your energy at the beginning of class, then you've got nothing left for the end of it, or even the middle of it. But now we're at that point, we're at the point in the half marathon where we're running downhill and we can see the finish line, and it's still a little bit away, but it's getting closer, and you dig in and you find those last energy pockets that you weren't even sure were there. You thought maybe you'd used them all up, but it turns out they're still there, and that's what we want to be doing. None of these exercises are super intense energy consumption wise. We've got a held plank, and then we've got basically an active deep stretch. But for that held plank, if that's a position that you've been struggling with, maybe you've been coming out of it a little bit early in previous classes, I want you to really dig in and try to hang on to that energy as long as you can. Breathing will help. Breathing will help to center you and keep you going. Again, it will also help to diminish some of the intensity of the sensation that you're feeling. So that's another reason that we don't want to hold our breath, is because then there is nothing to distract us from how uncomfortable this position gets after a while, and your muscles are all vibrating, and you're just like, and we start to focus in on difficulty rather than on, oh, I am doing this and I can do this. So breathing, visualizing that oxygen going to wherever you are feeling the sensation most intensely. So if your muscles are starting to vibrate, sending the oxygen there, and just reminding yourself the 45 seconds really isn't that much time. And look at that, you just got through that. That was amazing. That was so cool. And now you get to do this nice deep stretch. Again, really giving our hips the opportunity to just open up and get a little movement in. If you're sitting all day, then they are not getting a lot of movement in, and they are sad. They want that movement in. Won't someone please think of your hip joints? Well, we're thinking of them here. So getting nice and deep into that stretch. And then standing up to that front leg. Whew. Starting to feel the extra strength in those quads when you have to stand up to that front leg, right? All right. This is our last time through. Our last time through. So I'm here. I'm with you. We've got this. Make sure your butt's not floating up into the air. Make sure your shoulders are directly over your elbows. Make sure you're breathing so that your muscles are still getting all the energy that they need. And make sure that you are mentally patting yourself on the back because you have made it through an hour of class and it has been an intense hour and you are almost at the end of it. All right, you are so close and you should be so proud of all of this work that you've done. Oh man, that was the last time you have to do that plank today. Yes. Woo! So coming in for our final set of these nice deep lunges. Remember, if this is still a new exercise, start cautiously. Just go to the hand and do that back and forth a few times. And if you're like, okay, I feel like my hips are telling me that they have a little bit more flexibility, that I could get down a little lower, then try bringing that elbow down and see how it feels, okay? But if you are going, if you're going to the hand and going, oh yeah, that feels like where I am right now, then don't pressure yourself into going all the way down to the elbow. Ah, friends, we've done it. All right, take a quick drink of water and then we're gonna stretch because we've earned stretch. All right, we're gonna start with a pretzel stretch. Oh, I'm gonna start with popping my hips a little bit. Okay, so this is a weird one to describe how to get in the position, but we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna take one leg, let the knee fall open, and bring the heel to the outside of the opposite hip, and just have it shoved up against it. This other leg, I'm gonna take the foot to the outer side of the knee. So I've got one knee pointing straight up in the air, one knee flat against the ground, and I'm already pretty pretzeled and I'm starting to feel a little bit of activation, a little bit of stretching in this hip for the leg where the knee is pointing up towards the ceiling. Then I'm going to take the opposite arm and I'm going to wrap it around that knee and pull it into my chest as much as I can to really deepen that stretch, okay? So now I've got a really deep stretch on the outer part of my hip, and now I'm going to add in a back twist. So I'm going to turn away from this knee towards looking behind myself. I've got a nice twist in the back. I'm going to reach my other arm behind me so that it just increases that twist. And we are going to take 2 deep breaths here and just really settle into the stretch for a second. Here we go. That's 1. And 2. Now we're not coming all the way out of this yet. Turn back to the front. Take this ankle up on top of the knee. Flex the foot. That's going to help protect this knee in the stretch, because now we're just going to fold ourselves forward. You're going to really feel the stretch in your hip now. So fold yourself forward, Shake your head out a little bit to make sure you're not clenching your neck. I'm going to take my glasses off. And let's take 4 deep breaths here, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Round up. All right, let that top leg stretch out. Bottom leg come to meet it. Just shake those knees out a little bit. And now we are going to do the same thing on the other side. So same form notes. We've got one knee against the ground with that heel on the outside of the opposite hip. The other knee pointing straight up at the ceiling with that foot flat on the ground next to the knee. I'm going to take the opposite arm, hug that knee into my chest, really feel that stretch in the hip. Oh yeah, it's feeling nice over here. Then we're going to add the back twist in. Twisting behind us, reaching the arm behind us, and looking towards it. Let's settle here for a second, because I always hate it when, you take like 10 minutes to describe something on the first side, and then on the second side it feels like you get 2 seconds in the stretch, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't feel particularly even. Oh. All right, now let's take our 2 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. And 2. Turning back to the front, pulling this ankle up onto the knee, flexing the foot. It's going to help protect the knee in this stretch as we fold forward. Make sure that you're letting your neck go, you're not clenching it. And let's take 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Round back up. Shake out those knees a little bit. Okay. Now we're gonna take a nice wide leg position here. Okay, as wide as you can, making sure though that your knees are pointing up straight towards the ceiling, not, again, letting the knees cave forward, okay? Even here in our stretches, you can't avoid that. And what we're going to start with is we are going to turn towards one leg, try and get your shoulders squared, and I'm just going to fold over that leg, okay? Slowly, so that you're not accidentally starting to clench the muscle, making sure that this knee is still pointing straight up at the ceiling even as I'm going over the other leg. All right, and we are gonna just take 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Now I want you to take whatever arm is the same arm as leg to the inside of the leg, like this. And I want you to open that other shoulder up and reach that arm around. So now I have a nice long stretch along the side of my back. Yes, watch. All right. So shoulders are open. I'm looking forward now, and I'm going to take 4 deep breaths here. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Now we can sit up and turn towards the other leg. We're going to do that all again. So slowly folding over. Make sure this knee is still pointing straight up at the ceiling. Trying to square your shoulders over this leg if at all possible. And let's take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Now take that arm to the inside of the leg, open that shoulder up, reach over the top, touch your toes if you can. And we're going to take 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Oh man. All right, my friends. Whew. I would say that went well. Hey, guess what you're getting? Yep, band. Bye-bye. All right. Nice class, my friends. Oh, man. And look at that. There's still so much day left, and it's beautiful out. The sun is shining, and I hope that you have a good weekend or a good rest of your day. I know that I'm looking forward to a pretty restful day. I've got some client calls, but, you know, those are fun too. Those are really fun too. All right, my loves. This was the end of our broadcast week. Woo! So we start back up again with our regular schedule on Tuesday, 5:45. We've got Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. All of these times are Mountain Time, by the way. Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. we've got Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Fridays at 6 p.m. we've got Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And that brings us back around to Saturdays at 9 a.m. with the weekend kickoff. Woo, 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 woo. Oh man, so much good exercise. All right, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel of the same name is where I upload the VODs for all of these streams. They go up on Sundays, so you never have to miss a class. There's also going to be a lot of supplemental material going up there, so please head over and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account, Blanche Case Fitness. Donations are always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this channel, growing this community, then please do follow. Give us a follow. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anybody looking for an awesome class. And yeah, let's see where we can go, because we've done so much this year already, and I'm really excited. All right, I'd say it's breakfast and shower time. For me anyway, if not for you. Make sure to finish your water. I have not been good with that because I have to talk the whole time, but you should be finished with your water. Fitness Mom says, finish your water. And
do have a great weekend, whatever this weekend looks like for you. And I'll see you back here on Tuesday. Mwah. Have a great day.